What's up guys, Houndish here. Today, we're jumping in with another Destiny 2 video. We actually have a few updates from Bungie here. All of this coming alongside the weekly reset for the 24th of February. And over this week's reset, we will see an extended period of downtime, so Bungie are obviously doing a few things on the back end. Some of it perhaps related to Destiny 2, and specifically the delay for Shadow and Order. It's also possible that some of it is technical stuff related to Marathon. So we'll talk about what that means. Bungie give us a couple of extra heads up regarding the update for Shadow and Order. Additions like new titles and quality of life updates. We'll also touch on Bungie devs being moved from the Marathon project back to Destiny. We've got a bit of confirmation as to what's going on there. Things related to the patch this week and security and network measures for Marathon. So we'll switch things up a little bit with the delay this week. If you find the video useful, a rating would really help us out. But now, let's get into it. And so initially, Destiny 2 does get another update today, which is 9553. However, with that update comes some extended maintenance. So, the game was brought offline from 7 AM Pacific, and they're expecting the update to be available at 2 PM Pacific. So, it's going to be a total of around about at least 7 hours of downtime, which in itself is unusual. But as we know, Bungie have delayed Shadow and Order, and they've got the Marathon server slam this week, so there probably are some technical things going on. In relation to the extended season for Destiny though, somebody asked, is the season pass time going to be extended with the delay of Shadow and Order? And DMG said yes, so that makes sense. All the countdowns in game will reflect the new date of June 9th. And as far as we know, that should mean we have the current season pass until that time. And it's assumed that the same will apply for challenges and even things like the conquests. Some players are asking when those are going to be released, referring to the remaining ones, of course. And best we can tell, that will also be June 9th. So all of that and the quality of life updates that Bungie spoke about, including the plan to update raid and dungeon armor and weapons to the tier system, which will include crafted variants from raids and adept versions, where Bungie will add new perks and ways to enhance the columns to match that of tier 5 weapons. So I guess that's how this week's piece kind of fits in. Given that we're not doing the typical vendor refresh right here, all we have ahead of reset is the speculative Eververse inventory. This was shared by Gaming Animal. Keep in mind it could change, but it would appear that Bungie are focusing on another week of Lunar New Year items, a new ghost shell from this season, and a couple of interesting shaders. Otherwise, that particular outlay isn't especially mind-blowing, but if we get something else crazy in its place, I'll keep you guys posted. Further on the subject of upcoming updates, the stuff that we'll see in June, Scarrow said this is a small thing to request, but please don't bring back the Godslayer title or gild it for Pantheon, make a new one for Pantheon 2.0. And DMG confirmed the team was chatting about a new fitting title for Pantheon 2.0, and we're looking forward to it, so I guess not hugely surprising, but there should be a new title when we get to that update. And on top of the raid and dungeon stuff, including Pantheon and tier 5 exotics, of course, we'll get the Shadow and Order content itself. The best info we have on that at the moment is something called a Hive Weapon Foundry as a potential activity and a weapon of shadowy legend, where I've seen quite a few folks in the community speculate, of course it's not confirmed, but maybe we could get something like First Curse back, given the connection to the Dredgens. It's certainly an interesting possibility, but I guess we'll find out. Other updates from Bungie here. DMG said we noted yesterday that Twids will be more focused on community activations and the in-game calendar for a bit. So are there any activities you'd like to see changes for? Dungeon runs and raid challenges are always fun, but we'd love to hear from you. In addition to that, he says we'll let you know when we're ramping into more news about the June update, and I would personally speculate if it doesn't happen sooner than this, it's probably going to be May realistically, although we might get a few drams of information through April. On the subject of community-related challenges though, not that I'm massively into them, although I notice they often skew towards raid and dungeon type activities, so I guess it'd be cool if Bungie would do something that is a bit more casual friendly in some capacity, although I guess it's difficult to channel the challenge component of that. Let me know your thoughts down below. DMG also teased maybe someday we could get something like legendary transmog over exotic armor, but that's far from confirmed. Otherwise, there was a bit of weird news in the community where a creator was given a positivity emblem, so this is an emblem awarded by Bungie to those who are a positive voice in the community. It didn't last long though, as according to Cynics here, this individual publicly told someone to end themselves on Twitter, which is rather out of order. DMG said, unacceptable behavior. Emblem revoked. So a bit of a drama there, not ideal. Final bits of news reporting related to Destiny, but there was speculation a couple of weeks back about someone from the Marathon team returning to work on Destiny, and they were referenced as a lead designer for the Vault of Glass. Turns out that is Dan Miller. So Dan Miller's been at Bungie for a long time, since back in the Halo days. They worked on the final shape and then went over to the Marathon team, as we can see, and developed components of the Cryo Archive, which will be a sort of endgame piece of content in Marathon, which Bungie have described as being similar to raids. So I guess it's promising that a Vault of Glass designer actually worked on this. It would now appear though that they're back working on activity prototypes for Destiny, although this was as of September 2025, so that is stuff that we would presumably get for Shadow and Order, or indeed expansion content beyond that. Either way, it's a bit of confirmation of some folks from the Marathon team moving back over to Destiny, which does make sense given that the game is about to ship. In other news, my goodness, Witch Queen came out 4 years ago this week, so the anniversary of the Savathun. That's flown by very quickly, it's actually a bit scary. Our final mention for the day, Bungie revealed a bunch of information about Marathon security, networking, and anti-cheat features, where yes, immediately, there were memes about Destiny 2 not getting as much support as this. Some of it makes sense, given that Marathon's a brand new title, they have opportunities to build new systems, which are baked into the game engine and the client itself. But in terms of the overview for Marathon, they've said it has dedicated servers which are fully authoritative on key combat and looting actions, providing a layer of protection against cheating. On top of that, new network systems allow your movement and actions to feel responsive, while the server carefully tracks each bullet to its target, even with high packet loss. There's also fog of war limits on certain regions of the map that individual player clients have knowledge of, limiting the effectiveness of wall hacks, ESP cheats, and loot revealers. And they say they've rebuilt the game security stack from the ground up for Marathon, in addition to our extra layer of security provided by BattlEye. Plus, if you lose connection mid-run, you can reconnect and continue that run, and if connection recovery fails due to an issue with Bungie server or network infrastructure, we will attempt to return all starting gear to the impacted players. So you won't necessarily keep a loot that you already had in a run if you didn't extract it, but they will attempt to return your starting gear, which is the stuff you actually took into that run. Hopefully that system will perform well in those instances. Otherwise, anyone found cheating will be permabanned from playing Marathon forever, no second chances. And product security is never fully solved, and we will continue to invest in our game security systems. In terms of the connection recovery and economic security, they say when you're in the middle of a high-stakes run, losing your network connection can lead to a life or death situation. If you crash or get disconnected, your shell will remain in the game world and can be protected by your crew, restart your network connection if needed, and launch back into the game to reconnect your shell and complete the run. In the event that an error occurs with a Bungie server or network, connection recovery may not be possible, but we will attempt to ensure that any players affected by a server error have their starting gear returned to them. But they note the gear refund only applies to a subset of server error conditions and will not cover gameplay losses due to internet connectivity or client-side problems. And otherwise, in terms of the economy, over time, you may fill your vault with weapons, gear, and anything else of value you acquire in the world, and we take your investment of time seriously, so we'll strive to keep your progress safe and protected from item duplication or other economic cheats. So based on what Bungie have said here, they've put a lot of focus into network security and quality of life in terms of performance and investment. So we'll see how it pans out. I appreciate it will be frustrating for Destiny players, especially on the PvP side, where there have been a lot of cheaters, especially in the last couple of years. It'd be nice if Bungie invested further into resolving those issues, as Destiny relies a lot more on manual detections for cheating. But as we said, Marathon has been built from the ground up as a PvP-focused game, so Bungie probably had many of these systems in development right from the beginning, which will be a big part of why they appear to be so comprehensive, but we will see how they perform when we get into the game, which of course the first opportunity to do that will be this week on Thursday. So, there we have it. For the moment, guys, that's what we've got to round up today. I'll keep you posted if anything crazy happens with this extended downtime, like Bungie dropping something in game that's unexpected or something like that. I don't really see it happening, but it's possible we may see the updated timeline reflected in the season pass and trackers and timers in game. So, I'll keep you updated if there's anything important, but for the moment, that's what we got to round up. If you found the video helpful, a rating would really help me out on the channel. Be sure as well to hit subscribe and I'll keep you posted with more content, but otherwise, cheers for watching, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.